I want to actually save a bit of money and go to Thailand. Come visit, maybe stay for a couple weeks, a month, maybe.
Okay. Well, from Perth, Australia, it's really easy to get here.
Yeah, it's quite cheap too.
Mm-hmm. One of the ways you could do it is fly to Singapore, and from Singapore, fly in direct to Surat Thani, and you're right in the neighborhood.
Right. Is there any sort of I guess bureaucratic stuff I need to sort, or is it like I can just...
Yeah, I'll go to the embassy and get a visa.
Oh, okay then. Cool.
They'll give you a 2-month visa, and you can get it extended a month easily here. You can get it extended after that, but that's trouble.
Right. Okay, well, I'm gonna start putting away money, and then maybe towards the end of the year, I'll try and get out there.
Good.
I'm really feeling a call to retreat, actually. Daily life is going good. I will admit, I'm getting a little like worn down, I guess, finding myself a bit, I want to have some time to really sort of do path stuff. I've been sort of socializing a bit and working a lot, but apart from that, and even that, it's not like I'm miserable or anything. I'm just like, okay.
I'm having a little trouble following all of this thought pattern that you've got going. Can you give me a summary of?
Oh, basically, I just want to go on retreat, and
That part I got.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out what you were escaping from.
I guess just like daily life stuff, like work, friends.
Okay. There are good times for seclusion. Seclusion is really useful. Have you done a retreat?
No.
Ah, okay. All right. So since this is basically in your neighborhood, yes, plan on coming to arrive here around the 19th of the month so that you can do the retreat starting the 20th on Koh Samui with my good friend Dhamma and Achat.
Okay, sounds good.
And then after you do the retreat, you can come hang out on the porch, and after that, you can do something. One of the things that's very interesting, if you have the time, is to go stay at Wat Dam Kiem, and live there the way that the monks do. That Westerners are really is actually intended for Westerners, and it's a Wat, and it has an abbot who is he speaks fairly good English, a Thai monk, and you learn a whole lot about what the lifestyle of a monk is, because it's really nothing like what the Christians' idea of what a monk does in a Christian monastery.
What's it like, really?
Well, if you're going to learn to do nothing, basically there's nothing doing. The whole day, I guess, starts and ends with breakfast.
Doesn't sound too bad.
The rest of the time is up to you. You can either sit there and make yourself miserable, or you can sit there and make yourself brilliant, or you can sit there and make yourself happy.
Well, I'll give it a shot at least.
So that would be the kind of schedule that you would have. Would go for Dam Kiem. After you spend a while there, you might be invited to go or do some other activities, such as volunteering for the retreats at the International Dhamma Hermitage, which is very close by within walking distance.
So who are the so this is at what?
Nam Kiem is part of Wat Suan Mok.
Okay, what? Nam Kiem. And is this the place with Ajahn Po and Ajahn? Yep.
Jikabuddha Das's home, and Ajahn Po was and still is the abbot since about 1969. Been the abbot of Wat Suan Mok since 1969.
How old is he?
It was about time you asked that question. He's 87. 88.
Far out. So I had a pretty cool experience the other day. I was lying on the floor doing a sort of lying down meditation, and I was quite agitated initially. And I remembered something you said, like, I'm not a victim, I'm a lion, you know, and I just kind of repeated that, sort of imagined you there sort of like coaching me on, you know, and it like, so to sort of rewind, normally when I gladden the mind, it's like sort of in the background, it feels like there's some sort like a residual suffering or a little bit like, you know, that there's something there. But when I was doing it that time, especially, it was like, there was like a couple times where it just completely went away, you know, and like I sort of got like the full thing of what you mean about like you choose how you feel. Because I just was like, I was sitting there like, it was kind of like a woe is me type of stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
And
Typical
not
stuff, the kind of stuff that people do all the time when they don't want to.
Yeah,
Because they don't
exactly.
remember that they can stop it.
And I like, you know, and just the idea, you know, it's like, hell no, I'm not a victim, you know, and like making the idea of like, I don't have to let these causes and conditions make me, you know, that it doesn't, just because it's like not ideal doesn't mean I have to like let it really get to me, you know, and it just, there's this sense of it, everything like when I really gladdened the mind, it was like everything sort of faded away, like, or like very fadey, and like it happened a few times, and there was like a big sort of letting go, I guess, and I sort of went like, I don't know how to describe it. I sort of like got up, it was like, and I like sort of sat up
right.
really fast.
Has an exhale quality to it.
But like, it was like everything, you know, I just went, but it felt like I really let go. And then like I came back a bit and I just sort of like sat up really fast. I was like, whoa, you know, like, and it was like, yeah, it was really quite nourishing, because like that week especially, I was like, didn't feel like much could really touch me.
Okay, now imagining doing that several times a day. Imagine doing that 20 times a day. Because that's what I'm inviting you to do. Now that you've really caught a hold and gotten it. Anytime that mind is wandering away, you can have that same experience. You've already had it one time. You know what it's like to wake up with that great big, aha, I got it. All right. So now you can continue with that. It is now to become a skill to be developed.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just Might have to not let myself go that much if I'm driving or something, because I might crash the car. But
Well, in the car you can have a really tiny little Dhamma.
yeah,
Something like a huge belly laugh.
Yeah, it kind of dumbfounded me a little bit. I got to be honest,
Pardon?
because it kind of dumbfounded me a little bit, to be honest, because like I'm used to like a partial let
Dumbfounded,
it
does
go.
that mean surprised?
Yeah, stupefied me. It was like, whoa, like
Well,
real.
dumb and stupid are different kinds of words than surprised. Surprise has the quality of waking up.
Mm.
Stupefying and dumbfounding have the quality of being hit in the head with a hammer instead of a brilliant idea.
Well, I mean, it did feel sort of like that in a good way. It was like, whoa, you know.
Yes, I do. But I'm wanting you to start looking at your language.
Right. Yeah, I have been actually doing this a lot. Just catching how I describe things to myself, or like if I catch a word going, if I catch myself like, you know, ragging on myself for making a mistake, I'm like, nah, it's okay, it's fine. And like that really helps and sort of fills the body with PT sometimes if I really get it. And I'm like, nah, it's okay, dude. I sort of like talk to myself and use my dialogue, my self dialogue a bit more constructively instead of like, oh, you fucked this up. You're gonna. And I realized actually, like, what comes after that little bit of like, oh, I fucked this up is like, I'm gonna die, or I'm gonna lose my job, or my car's gonna blow up, and it starts spinning and spinning,
Or the karma machine is going to step on you.
Yeah, some big bad thing's gonna happen to me. So that's been nice to really short circuit.
That's exactly the right word to say for it. Short circuit and shut that down. And all you have to do is to remember to do it, to see it, to remember to look at that stuff. That this is one of the qualities that I think. Did you and I talk about Vedana and rapture last time when you talked? When we talked?
We
Yeah, I
talked,
think.
not Rapture, I don't think. Rapture, no, but Vedana we've talked about pretty lengthily.
All right. Well, there's a new kind of way of looking at it, and in fact, the way that you were looking at it just now, when in your description to me, this
Mhm.
is the kind of philosophical underpinning behind that.
Okay. Ooh.
All right. So we're in the sense of discussing anapanasati and the four foundations of mindfulness and how anapanasati fits into that. That um, the important beginning work is done in sita, in the sense of sati is to recognize the state of mind you're in, or to wake up and see what's going on. Basically, it's wakey wakey. And that's
Mm-hmm.
and the way that it's talked about in the sutras is experiencing the mind, to recognize, is the mind doing this, is it doing that, is it on the breath or is it off the breath, and in that way, is it full of hindrances or not? The second thing that then we do is that we will take and gladden the mind, like good boy. All right, good dog. You caught that bone. Good dog.
I've started. We said it before, but I really like doing this. Instead of saying like "good job," I say "thank you for noticing." Like
Yeah,
it's like
that's good. I like that.
because it makes you feel, it sort of really like makes you feel warm and fuzzy because it's like, yeah, good, thank you,
Yeah.
like, and you feel grateful that you noticed. So it's like it's still like gladdening the mind, and it's still, but it's like a different flavor because it's like you're thankful for it.
All right. And now adding back the breath in it, which is of what Anapanasati is named for, And most specifically, step one of that long, deep in and out breath, that's very much related to this process. And so that's when we're going to go back to the breath. Now, by doing that, what we've actually done is we covered 3 out of the 4 aspects of Anapanasati, or the 3 out of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, leaving Vedana as an actual skill to also be developed. Just like sati is a skill to wake up that mind to see what it's doing, to develop the skill of gladdening the mind, to develop the skill of right effort, right? And with right attitude. So now we're going to start drilling right down in on attitude. This is the hardcore. So the way that we're going to start is I'm going to give you a basic description of the 4 qualities of Vedana. The first one is to train the mind for rapture or piti. The second one is to train the mind for sukha. The next one is to train the mind to see and understand the Sita Sankara, to see the Sita Sankara. Now, I'll give you in depth what Sita Sankara is, because this actually comes in a bundle. And then the fourth one is then to tranquilize or to put this Sita Sankara in both cases into, say, neutral. And that in a way you can think of this is how, with this Vedana, that the human part of the mind will take over and subdue the reptilian brain and put it in service rather than as the boss.
I feel like
most people are run by their emotions, by their feelings. They don't think things through. They run with anger, especially the Americans now, under the influence of Donald Trump, are all full of fear. I mean, talking about millions of people that are running around in panic mode.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a fun place to be hanging out right now.
But it's a human place to hang out. That's the normal state of humans.
So what was the third and fourth? So I've got Piti, Sukha, Chitta Sankara, and then
understanding Sita Sankara, seeing it.
Yep. Yeah.
And basically, that's the part that happened right before you set up straight.
The understanding or the seeing?
You saw it.
Okay.
You saw it. You said to yourself, why would I do that when I could be the lion? I'm the lion. I remember you telling me that specifically. And then the next thing that happened was you set up right. And that when you're talking about this, you keep indicating it with an out breath. Okay? So these things that happened in your sitting at that time are very, very well documented in the sutras, down to an even deeper level than you've experienced before. So now that we know what's going on is that we've got this 1-2 punch, and this 1-2 punch actually Piti and Sukha are jhana factors. So that as we push the hindrances out and we experience this high point of Sukha that you were talking about, and then letting it settle into Sukha, Piti and Sukha, now we're going to sit in that state of happy first jhana, watch what's going on, so that now we're going to start doing step 3 of this, or in fact is step 5, 6, and 7 of watching what's going on. But before we go too deep in it, let's go back and look at rapture so that we can fully understand what it is. Now, to be honest with you, I always ask the students what is rapture or piti, because everybody's got their own understanding. Everybody's read this or that Dhamma book, and nobody so far has passed the question test. So I ask you, what is piti?
I've got to be honest. I haven't experienced what I thought was PT. I haven't really experienced that in quite a while, because my first experiences and this is really before I talked to you or had read a lot, it was very overwhelming. It felt like it was like, like the first couple times it really blew the top off, of my head almost. It was real like bam. And now it feels sort of like nothing really close to that anymore. And that's pretty much what I've sort of described as PT. So now when I say, like, I do get pleasure during my sits and stuff, but it's sort of like a bit more of a mellow, like, like it's, like rather than being on a roller coaster, it's sort of like sitting out on the porch and having a nice cup of tea or something. It's a lot more chilled out. But I couldn't really give you, that's sort of what I see it as now.
All right. The very first thing that I want to tell you about it is that number one, it is a training. It is a skill to be developed. And while you're developing that skill, sometimes it'll be higher than it is in other times. But for a while, it's something to be trained, because this is, in fact, that which is most closely related to success. Now, let me explain to you what I'm talking about. Everyone in the outside physical world is looking for something. They're looking for a high or a peak experience. It happens like this for, say, a runner who's running the 100-yard dash, that just before he gets across the finish line, when he knows he's going to win the race, he can raise his arms in the air and hit that ribbon with his chest. When the winner runs across the finish line, when he's ahead of all of the others, he never is just full-on running. He's already accepted the win an instant, a half a second before he actually wins. Almost to the point that the last step that he takes before he gets across the finish line is more of a stopping step than it is a running step.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this has the quality of the feeling, I have arrived. I have won. The job is done now. That which I wanted has been fulfilled.
The goal's been achieved.
The goal has been achieved. The quota has been met. The honor has been bestowed.
Yeah, I'm sort of familiar with this from like past experiences with like when I was more when I was into weightlifting. There's like a point when you're just about to lock out the rep and you're like, got it.
Got it. All right. That's the feeling that you're going to start shooting for with meditation also. That got it. That is so satisfying. It is actually uplifting. It is, in fact, the reason why people live their lives. They're looking for that. An example would be the real estate agent who's been trying to get a contract for months and months, and finally she's got the seller and the buyer's signature on it. And boy, does she just jump up. She's got it! Finally! Almost to the point that she'll rip the contract out of the hands of the seller before he finally finishes his signature. Loan agents have known to do that. That they're just sitting like that, waiting for that person getting that loan to sign that paper, and then they know they've got it. My sales pitch has worked. Or used car salesmen, they get that high when they sell a car.
It's like in the movies where you see the douchebag salesman make a sale, and then he does like the karate kick and like, woo.
Yes, exactly. That's rapture in the ordinary world, and it has a lot of self built in it. It's the high, it's the kick, it's I've got it, it's the win. And we want to register that win over and over and over again, because that's going to start building up the shraddha, or the confidence, that we can win all the time. We are the winners. We are the lions. So you have to start in this regard now of changing your focus just a little bit, that when you're gladdening the mind, you're really going to gladden it, because this is successful. One of the ways of talking about it is that this is when we begin to understand that we can, in fact, do the Dhamma. This is the teaching of the Lord Buddha himself. This is the highest quality of humanity. And I can do it. The very best there is. And this is the kind of feeling that you can start generating for yourself, of knowing that you're capable of doing that which is the highest quality thing that humans can do. And that is become fully human.
Wow, that sounds pretty exciting.
Yes, the big lion, the roar of success. This is what turns the mind into a noble mind. The noble mind is very successful. Now, in normal living, nobility is looked on either as hereditary, so that the guy's been rich his whole life, but that really doesn't count at all. The other one is when the man is a high successful businessman that lives and understands his success. But an example right now is in the United States, there's a guy named Jeffrey Epstein or something, who, even though he was enormously successful with money, that wasn't enough. He could not live a noble life. He had to start messing with young girls.
I know this guy. He is a bad man.
Yes, like everybody who's got bad money. The more money they have, the badder they are. That's why the rich are trying to protect him.
Disgusting.
It is not disgusting. It's joyful to realize that's what's going on. That's humanity. And you can take great relish in the fact that you're better than that. You are of higher quality than that. Okay. Your wealth has got nothing to do with how much money, that in fact money corrupts. The self-worth, that lion, that winning attitude that you're developing through that rapture, that brings on high quality success. And you know that because you keep doing it over and over again. Now, step number 5 then, rapture, with a great big chest thumping kind of, wow, this is so good. It melts then into sukha, which we would use in the English language. We would call it happiness, but it's really satisfaction. So rapture then is huge success followed by satisfaction. That's so the like 1-2. Pardon?
So like the afterglow of the big win, when you've like, exactly. You've got your trophy and you're sitting there at the table and you're like,
yeah, okay, that's exactly correct. You've got that one nailed. All right, and we want to stay in that afterglow.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sweet spot. That afterglow that you, and I like that word afterglow, I haven't used it before. That afterglow of the high of the win is the state of first jhana, and it is the state that we wish to remain in. And so we're going to start taking precautions to stay in that state.
Mm-hmm.
And the precautions are, we're going to be on guard. In fact, all of the attention we're going to pay is to stay on guard to make sure there's nothing coming into the mind that's going to take me out of this state. And so that's when we start saying, I'm not going to allow any unwholesome thoughts into the mind. Now, that's exactly what you did. When you were laying there on the floor, you had gone through this sequence and you didn't even know it in this context.
Okay, so this is like, is this sort of like what you're trying to get me to see when I remember that I've gone away from the now, the here now? It's like, oh, I did it.
Yeah.
I've got it.
and I'm back. I'm
Yeah.
back. Did you ever see The Shining?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay, Jack. He cracks that door open with the axe. He sticks his face in and he says, "I'm back."
Okay, that makes so all of this is sort of like what you're talking about before about getting rid of false views of like I'm supposed to get somewhere and build a state when really it's like I'm remembering that I've gone away from this current moment and then that success is what I've been looking for is when I falter and I can bring back and I'm just saying I'm back, baby.
Yes,
And that's
exactly. And you do
okay.
it with full-on confidence, and this is a skill to be developed. Isn't that a surprise? So that you get pretty good at this stuff by practicing it.
Surprise, surprise.
And you can also see that this is what we label as first jhana because it does have the jhana factors.
Right.
The applied and sustained thought is now by having that piti and sukha, we're sitting in that state so that we can pay attention to what the mind is doing. Almost like we were reading a book. Every thought that comes by is inspected. Are you worth having in here or not?
Get out of here if you're not.
Right, exactly. Because you know the kind of thoughts that you want to get out of the mind are the kinds of thoughts that are going to take you out of that happy state that you just recreated. So in that regard, is now I'm still here. So in that regard, the application is the rapture and the piti. And now the sustained is sustaining it with the piti, or excuse me, with the rapture, so that you can maintain that state by keeping the thoughts down to useful, wholesome thoughts rather than unwholesome thoughts.
So, and this is why you say staying in first jhana is the way to go because you can still go, okay, because like if I was walking around in second jhana, I couldn't actually do a
You'd get
evaluative
lost.
thought. Yeah.
At best, you'd get lost.
You'd just be like walking around in like, everything's so great. And you just sort of like, okay, that makes sense now. So this is where you can, so you're like sort of building up to being able to just sort of like saunter in first jhana and then like evaluate like, okay, I need to say, I've got to move this thing here before it drops, because that, it's important or whatever. Or it's like, I'm thinking about the time a dog bit my little finger and I'm getting a bit pissed off. Get out of here. Okay.
Exactly. You're beginning to understand. So now go practice. Now you've already had some both on the cushion and off the cushion kind of things. This is to be practiced most diligently when you're on the cushion, but also every time you think about it on the off the cushion, and you've got several handles and tools to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So really allow yourself to a really good, happy win several times a day. Get into the habit of being the best human being in Perth.
I'll do my best. So like even if I say, for instance, with the door check, for instance, say I walk through a door and I don't notice it, what I've been doing is as soon as I remember that I forgot to open the door, I'm like, hey, you noticed really fast that time. Or, hey, that was, you got it, dude. Like even turning this like so-called failure into like a win because it's like I remembered at some point and I came back. So
Precisely.
it doesn't need to be okay, that cool.
Yes, the win. Go for the win. Remember the win. Remember the win. So whenever you do remember, that's the win. Don't say,
Alrighty.
oh, I remembered, but it's too late, so I'm going to rob myself of the win. I'm going to feel disappointed instead. It's like, duh.
Alrighty. This is exciting.
Rather than exciting, I would prefer the word enthusiastic or enthusiasm or eagerness. That the student becomes eager for the Dhamma because they should see how delightful it's becoming.
Right. I guess excited does sort of have built into it. It's not here yet. It's coming.
Okay, right. But we're actually practicing. It's here. We did it. It's not like, oh, if I work a little bit harder, I'll get it. It's not like that kind of thrill. It's not the thrill of I might get it. Let me work really hard for the next 10 seconds. It's no, those 10 seconds are over. And I did win.
Far out. So this is what you mean when you say you can choose how you feel. It's literally having the right view, the right noble view, and then you're just like, once you get good at it, like that, I guess. Oh, okay.
And in that regard, the teaching of the Buddha is actually quite simple. It really is. If you can figure out that you're not feeling the way that you want to, then feel the way that you really want to. And let's go experiment to find out how good that is.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for the teaching, Dhammarato. Do you anything else, or do you think this is a good point to leave it?
I think that this is great. You've already got all you've got the complete package. You've got the whole set of tools now.
Excellent. All right. Well, sadhu.
Check in. Let's hear how it's going.
Yep. No worries. Have a great day. Bye-bye.